Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, I have the obligatory cup of tea, 11's is, as it were, or is. So welcome to Why We Lie About Stress in the Workplace. So as always, make sure that you're getting the best use of this masterclass, and the best way to do that is for you to take your own notes. Your notes are much more useful to you than any handout or worksheet I could provide. Yes, I do provide them in some of my other bits and pieces and courses and coaching that I do. But they can get put on a shelf, as could your notes. So the next most important thing is to make your own notes and then take some action upon them. So how do we do that? You go through your notes and then turn the notes that you've made into action points. So after you've been through your notes, you should have ultimately a list of action points you could possibly take. And if you need some help converting an idea or a theory or a concept into an action, then let me know and we can help you work through that. So you end up with a list of actions, and then from a list of all of those possible actions you could decide which one or two actions you will take. And of course, in an ideal world, you say, oh, I'll take all of them. I'll just change my mindset. I'll change my behaviors. I'll change my activities. I'll change my actions, and I'll change my results. And of course, you can do all of that. That sort of comes into an immersion, baby step method of achieving your goals or getting yourself out of a difficult situation, which does work. It can be much more exhausting. There's much more longevity, much more long-term and sustained change over the baby step method. It is taking one or two actions and deciding to implement those and working out how to fit them into your day, into your week, into your life, into your situation. And of course, at any point during this conversation, whilst you're taking notes, while you're converting your notes into actions, when you're deciding on which actions you will take, if you've got any questions at all, ask questions so that you have complete clarity on the information that you have in front of you so that you can make an educated and informed decision. So let's jump in then. So I know we all think we don't lie. I don't tell lies. I don't possibly lie. I'm whiter than white with a lie. And when we talk about white, probably a white lie doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter at all. And do you know what? It sort of doesn't matter in potentially a different environment, but if you feel like you're being stressed at work and you're denying it, then maybe we do need to have a little look at how easy it is for us to tell a lie and how generally and widely acceptable it is to tell a lie. So there are studies that shown that we all lie much more than we think we lie. I was recently reading an article by the National Geographic magazine, and they looked at some studies, but they also did a poll. And so we lie less with age. So as we start to come into ourselves and test our boundaries, and we'll come back to boundaries later on, then we start to, oh, what lies can I get away with? What's acceptable? And as we get older, both as lying becomes less acceptable, and we stand more in our truth by calling people out and saying that's a pile of pants or that's a crock, and we refuse to accept lies, and so we refuse to tell much more lies. So we lie less as we get older. Excuse me for a minute. Real life. And but even with that, even those people who classified themselves as non-liars, people who don't lie, when asked a second question of like, did you tell a lie within the last week, 92% of people said that they did tell a lie last week. So if we lie generally, it's really quite easy to lie about things in particular. Can we lie about stress in the workroom? So one of the problems we have is lying is normal. So lying is normal. We've established that we all tell lies. But lying is also normal in the workplace in the first instance. So whenever we go into work or we deliver this sort of work, we work ourselves, we work independently, we work self-employed, we work in our own companies, however we work, and we put this mask on to say, ta-da, I'm here. You might not literally say that, but we all have this belief or understanding or perception that says, this is how I need to be to get this job. So you'll notice it more at interview stage if you are A, being interviewed, or B, you are the interviewer. you'll make allowance in both of these situations, because it goes both ways. If you are the interviewee and you go to an interview, then you might embellish or enhance some of your CV, some of the experiences you've had, to be able to better answer their questions. And so you potentially lie to them. They also lie to you. They say, oh, this is a great place to work, and you'll whiz through the promotion schedule, etc., etc. And actually, no, there's no hope of that ever happening. Like, you're in, just get in and do the job. So you lie to them, they lie to you, and then all of a sudden it's like, you get offered the job, it's like, crap, now I need to deliver on that enhanced level of myself, which can be a good thing. It can be a challenge, it can be a motivation, can be an ability for you to step more into your zone of genius, lots of things, but it starts at that level. And then we continue to wear that mask because we think, this is who I need to be to keep this job. And so we're all wearing this mask at varying degrees throughout our work environment. Now, the next part of this, why it's normal to tell a lie in work, and this is my personal view, so please feel free to disregard it if you think that it isn't true. I personally think, because I'm large on languaging. Languaging is our smallest part of communication, but when we have all of the rest of our communication in place, when it comes to our languaging is hugely important. It's important for the languaging in the conversations that we have with ourselves, and secondary, the conversations we have with others. And there's a huge difference between the word personnel, where work was personal and you were treated as a person, and you might have personal situations which may or may not cause you stress, is entirely different to being called a human resource. And so for me, when it changed over, we knew in the workplace that we were no longer treated as people. On the outside, it might all seem to be the same, but collectively, if you take a helicopter view over the industry, like, people are resources. And so if you're a resource, are you more or likely to be stressed than if you're treated as a person and you exhibit all of the characteristics that somebody who's a person would have? It's personnel to you. So a human resource is like, well, you could be a stapler, right? So that's a resource to the business, but that's just a stationary resource. So you are simply a resource to that organization. Now, there is a caveat. Not all organizations do this, but it is very general. So it is very easy to start lying in work because you're not treated as a person. And you could also be called, instead of potentially a human resource, you can be called human capital. Like, I've got X amount of money invested either in the bank, so I've got my business owner hat on, right? This business has X amount of monetary assets in the bank under investment. It has X amount of property assets. It has X amount of equipment assets. It's got X amount of human assets. You are a capital expenditure and a capital asset base to that company. So it's like, if you're not feeling treated as a human being, it can be much more easy to lie in the workplace. Also, when I'm working with people who are in a difficult situation, quite often we'll use a tool that helps me understand them better and helps them understand them better. There's lots of tools you can use, lots of tools. I particularly like the disc profiling tool. Firstly, because it's not like learning Latin. If you want to learn Latin and do a different tool, that's fine, but there has to be some sort of common vocabulary in the workplace, because otherwise you're going to work to do the job that you went to work to do, to be in procurement, to be a butcher, to be a director, to do the finances, whatever it is. That's what you're there to do, not to learn how to use a behavioural tool or an assessment tool. So that's why I use that one. And secondly, because when I use it, the disc tool that I use, it gives you a graph with your own individual stress level, because stress is different. Like, your level of stress will be different to my level of stress, and then your level of stress in that situation will be different to my level of stress in that situation, and your level of stress with your circumstances will be different to my level of stress in that situation with my circumstances. So everybody, when they get their own profile back, has their own, look, you know what, this is my stress level, and but beyond here, if you pass, I will be much more stressed at work. So I always look at the difference in what they're telling me and what the tool says, and has a look and see what's the individual stress level and are they over it, because that's the first place to start. If somebody's over their stress level, we need to bring that down to get them to be within safe boundaries, so then we can work on their difficult situation. We can't work on that if they're already super stressed. So it's really important, if you're thinking like, oh, maybe I am, maybe I'm not stressed, or maybe I am, or maybe I'm not telling lies about it in the workplace. And you think, oh, I'm not telling lies about it because everybody does it. It's just normal. Isn't that a given? Like lemmings, oh, everybody does it, so I'm okay. Well, maybe consider getting your DISC profile and having like, what is your stress boundary for you? What is your personal stress level? And how near or far away from it are you? So another problem that we can have when it comes to lying to ourselves about stress in the workplace is that we can experience fear. And fear can come up in a number of ways and fashions. Fear can come up like an imposter syndrome, which isn't actually a psychological situation, I'll just call it that. The studies have been done, and because so many people experience imposter syndrome, it's not really a syndrome. It's not like anything that you can go to counselling for it if you want, you can go to therapy if you want, but it's not considered to be anything that is particular that needs to be treated, because it's just like common in the workplace. It's like, so it's just, you know what, everyone sometimes feels that they've maybe sold to themselves, maybe tweaked it a little bit too much in the embellishments in the interview, and now they've got to deliver that, and there's a gap. It's the gap analysis that makes us feel like we're imposter. We feel like the level of expectation is here and we are going to perform here, and we think that we're going to be exposed in this vulnerable area here. And so that's the fear. The fear is of being exposed. The fear is being considered fraudulent. The fear is being shown up for maybe we feel incapable in undertaking the task of being asked to do. And so that's a very real fear, even though everybody has it. And at some points, at some time. So we can start to lie then, and we then have to reinforce that lie. Yes, I'm fine. Yes, I can do that. Of course, I'm operating at this level when you're feeling at this level. And so we can continue to perpetuate that lie for ourselves. We can also continue to lie about how we're feeling in the workplace because we fear we're going to lose that job. And that goes right back to the first part of like, we put this mask on, we have this expectation, this is who I need to be in this role to get this job or keep this job. So we can continue to operate out of fear because we feel that we are going to lose our job. And so we don't tell anybody we're stressed because we don't want to lose our job. And this really is a fear then about not being understood. It's like, I can't possibly tell anyone I'm fearful. I can't possibly tell anyone that asking me to do this task, this action, this role, this whatever it is you've been asked to work on is stressing you out because you feel that you're unable to do it, you're not equipped, you're not the right person, it's not in your zone of genius, all of those things. And so you feel like, well, I've done this, this and this, so why can't I do that? And so you just carry on and try and crack on with this, feeling all the time you can't do this, and this one thing is causing you much more stress or additional stress across the board. But if you go to somebody, you're feeling that you won't be understood, and that's probably because lots of people go, oh, just man up. And I remember being at a networking dinner and I said, oh, I'm Karen Mary Wilson, I deal with bullies in the boardroom. This woman, like, she couldn't even bear that I was at the table, that I would actually be there to help people. So she wouldn't give me the time of day. I just tell them all to man up. So that's another way of, that could be the culture in your organization, but definitely you would not be understood if that is your culture. So this does bring us to the culture of the organization. You can be fearful about speaking up about stress in the workplace, and so therefore you lie about it because there isn't any leadership from the top. There is no definite vision, there's no definite mission, there's no charter, there's no culture, there's no this is the way that we interact with each other, this is how we respect each other, this is how we work together with a team, this is how we communicate with each other. And because those things are absent, you can be fearful from speaking the truth because these things are not there to support you. What you also can't do is you feel that you can't change the, I'm just making sure that it doesn't say, I'm personally, speaking like a chipmunk, sometimes it is. So I was just checking to make sure somebody was saying, Karen, your masterclass is chipmunk-ish, so that's good. So that's on Do Not Disturb now, so it won't disturb us again. Yes, so you will also feel that you can't speak up because who are you? You're just one person. You can't change that culture of that organization to be supportive, to be communicative, to be understanding. You're just one person. And actually, if you start to bring this up, that there's no leadership from the top, or if there is a vision, actually it's just lip service, because nobody upholds it, nobody demonstrates those values, nobody exhibits those qualities, nobody appears to be working. It says, oh, we're working for the best experience for everybody, and actually they mean we're working for the best financial return for a few, which is fine. Lots of organizations do that, but like, be upfront about doing that. So fear can start to set in. So it's gone from, it's quite normal to lie in the workplace, to being fearful about telling the truth about your circumstances in the workplace, and then we get on, so you can feel that you're just in too deep with this lie in the workplace. So you have to continue to lie, because this is a situation you've created for yourself. But what happens is that this mask that we put on at outset, which was perfectly normal, now just becomes too heavy, and it comes to wearing on us. And then we can start to feel like, actually, I have no idea what is the truth anymore. I don't know what I'm feeling at all. And so you think, actually, I've got all of these obligations and responsibilities outside of my work I need to uphold and I need to keep. I've got all of other people's expectations of me in the workplace that I need to keep up with, and I need to operate up here where I'm expected to pick up the slack all the time. If people are off sick, if there's nobody heading this department, if you're the best at this particular thing, you're expected always to fill in those gaps, but you've got less and less energy to do so. And so you've just got no joy at work, and you're absolutely not working anywhere near your zone of genius. And once you're in this situation, like I said, you're in too deep. It's like you can't see the wood for the trees. All you can see around you is tree trunks. You have no perspective of where you are situated and how near or far you are away from that edge, from that boundary. And so actually you're just going through the motions, and going through the motions, even at that, there's not even that comfort of, I just need to go in and do my job and go out. There's no comfort of momentum. There's no comfort of motion. It's just like actually just going through the soul. The emotions for you is soul destroying, or worse. And you think, well, how can it be worse than destroying your soul? Because then once you're in too deep, you're actually in really dangerous territory, dangerous to your mental health, dangerous to just potentially flipping out, dangerous. Like I've worked with some people, touchwood, who are having a difficult situation, and their only desire is to literally punch out the CEO. They dangerously close to those things happening, because you have because it's so gradually and so insidiously crept up on you, that this stress that you're under, and there hasn't been an outlet for it. So we can end up catastrophizing the situation in our mind. But what's happened is all of our energy bank accounts are empty. Now, I use energy bank accounts with my clients, because getting yourself out of a difficult situation takes some energy. So we need to start putting some energy in so that we can spend it on getting ourselves out. And energy can come from lots of sources, and it can come from tiny sources. You get a large amount from tiny sources. But I work with people, I used to work with just 4, emotional, spiritual, mental, and emotional. But over the last wee while, I've added in loving, because all the credits that we put in our energy bank accounts have to be a loving activity for us. And I was recently looking at, came up in my newsfeed for new material that has been found by the Zig Ziglar family that they're going to be releasing. And I love Zig, and it reminded me of a story he told. So this would be many moons ago, when I used to have my automobile university with tape cassettes in my car, and he would talk of clients that he meant that were exactly the same: emotionally bankrupt, financially bankrupt, spiritually bankrupt, mentally bankrupt, emotionally bankrupt. I think that's all of them. And so you'll be feeling that that's a really, really dangerous situation to be in. But even though you're in it, it's like wood for the trees again. It's so dangerous, but you can't see it. Then all of a sudden, it's the last straw. So how to stop lying to yourself about the stress you're feeling in the workplace? Well, first of all, go back to my last masterclass, and I'll put a link in here after, which is like how to know if you're in a difficult situation. You could say, well, that is or isn't appropriate. I've put it there as a resource for you to use as a gauge for yourself. But if you think actually that doesn't apply to me, but I'm still in this in too deep to dangerous situation, well, actually, if you're any of them, if you recognize it's a problem at outset, if you're in the initial fear stages, or the in too deep stages, or the dangerous stages, absolutely get in touch and then take these actions. So take these actions. So start to set boundaries for yourself. And if you don't know how to set boundaries for yourself, then set yourself a task to learn how to set boundaries, and then set yourself a secondary task to learn how to keep boundaries in place. So start to do this, and we start to then look at all of those boundaries, first of all outside of work and then inside of work. So easier to practice outside. So when you've got some practice, when you've got some know-how, when you've got some experience, then you can take them into the workplace. It's the same about reconnecting with yourself. Write down a couple of roles that you do in 7 Habits of Highly 7 People, or it might be in First Things First, actually, by Stephen Covey. And I'm going to say this, it's a sweeping generalization, but it's a book written by a man, and at the time it was written, it was a very male dominated workplace. In his experience, we could only uphold 7 roles at any given time. Now, as a woman, you can add on 14 dozen roles on any given day, but think of yourself outside of your work. What is your role? Mother, father, partner, daughter, son, community member, friend, all of the roles that you want, that you enjoy, and consider what your vision is for yourself in that role. How do you want to be, and start working towards that. Once you understand your vision for yourself outside of work, again, you can transfer all of these skills into the workplace, and it's much easier to transfer them from somewhere where you're not so stressed, where you're not so in danger, and then you get some experience under your belt, and then transfer them into the workplace. So what's your vision for yourself in the role? Whatever role it is, if you are the director, if you are a manager, if you are a supervisor, if you are an employee, what is your vision for yourself in the role? Take your boundaries that you've learned to establish and keep, and go into work in that way, and gradually remove yourself from this danger, and gradually, stop lying less. Give yourself the opportunity to speak your truth more freely in your workplace. And at all times, start to look at the positives in all of the situations. I know when you're in too deep and dangerous, you can feel that there is no positives as well. So it's just really tweaking our focus from where we are to where we could be. Now, you could use the 2 that come to mind, which is the Pollyanna method, and that's the glad game. So even though this situation is terrible, what could you be glad about? And start to get yourself, start to look for the positives there. And also the Mary Poppins method, look for every job that must be done, find an element of fun. So they're 2 different things. So one's in the whole situation, what can you be glad about? And what can you have fun while you're doing? And if you have really put all of your efforts into finding positives and you really can't, then it really is definitely a warning sign that you need to remove yourself safely from that situation as quickly as possible, and be looking for somewhere else where you don't have to lie about the stress you're under, where you can absolutely be yourself and use your skills and talents. So the results of actually stop lying in the workplace is that you don't have to accept anymore that lying is normal, because it doesn't serve you. And if we notice it at outset, it doesn't go through the whole process. So it's like the broken window syndrome, or you've got a crack in something, and you just know if you don't deal with that, it's only going to get worse. So we start at the beginning. So we start the whole lying is normal to think, oh, maybe it's normal, but it doesn't serve me. So I'm going to really tighten up on that area. Start to bring those in the workplace, bring your stress level into your personal comfortable limits. So have a look about that, and you'll naturally start to build your self-confidence and your self-esteem. So you'll naturally put more deposits in all of those bank accounts, in your financial, your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, your mental, and your loving bank accounts. So that's it for this masterclass today. All of this is very, very, very simple. That's the whole premise. It's not always easy. So to make it easy for yourself, go back to your notes, go turn your notes that you want to into actions, decide which 1 or 2 actions you're going to start to implement, and if you've got any questions, ask. Now ask your GP. If you need help for stress, ask HR. If you need to take that point to say, actually this isn't working for me, ask me. If you want me to help you with either of those conversations, or to help you out of this situation without speaking to your GP or without speaking to HR, you can do this on your own. All of these masterclasses are designed for you to take this information and run with it. You can do this. If you want to do the work to transform your situation, then absolutely get in touch. Now, I write these on a mind map. So I have a wee quick flash here of the mind map. Now, if you'd like a copy of this mind map, because the subject is of help and interest to you, just message me, let me know what part of it particularly you are interested in, and we can start there. I will send it over to you, so get in touch. So that's it from today. Let me know if you're catching the replay. Any comments, questions, concerns, anything you have in the box, and I promise I will answer any and all of them. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. I wish you every success.